The transcript shows that between these two quotes, Sinan joked, "Where better can we give you an astronomical description than in the astronomical heavens?" Duke laughed. This was also absent on the Spacecraft Films DVD, and in its place, the footage was clearly cut.
Right. Takes me a little while to catch on to those things. I think that's where we are.
Watch now as the shot of the patch continues.
With the orientation of the stars, both, even if you can't see them, you can have a feel for where they ought to be, which is, I think, it's going to help us out. Right, 10, we're still having problems lighting up. We'd like you to go to wide beam for 30 seconds and then back to narrow. Over. I can see it with the naked eye, and then I put
the camera suddenly cuts from the patch to a shot of John Young peering into the navigation telescope. Just before this cut, Duke requests that the astronauts go wide beam for 30 seconds and then back to narrow. When we see Young's back, Sinan says, "See it with the naked eye."
We'd like you to go to wide beam for 30 seconds and then back to narrow. Over. I can see it with the naked eye, and then I put
the transcript logs these two statements as being made 1 minute and 40 seconds apart. It seems not only do we have evidence of continuous audio running synchronized to edited video, but also evidence that footage has been cut and passed off as complete. But the most significant exclusion of 47-hour GET footage is the view of Earth they saved for last. We see the Earth in this telecast, but predictably not before the camera cuts.
10 Houston, we're expecting high gain loss in about 1 minute. Over. 10 Houston, Madrid has a good TV picture.
Just before the interior to exterior shot, Charlie Duke says,
Okay.
10 Houston, we are expecting high gain loss in about 1 minute, over. As soon as the shot starts, he says, Madrid has a good TV picture.
10 Houston, we're expecting high gain loss in about 1 minute. Over. 10 Houston, Madrid has a good TV picture.
These two comments from Duke were made 14 minutes apart. Yet 1 minute and 6 seconds after his loss in 1 minute statement, Duke confirmed that Madrid was receiving Apollo 10's video of Earth. This confirms that minutes of interior and exterior video were not included on the Spacecraft Films DVD set, and this edited version was sold as complete. It gets better. During this particular shot of Earth, Duke says, "I think they can broadcast this stuff out in black and white."
Spain, Portugal are in view, so the folks down in that part of the area ought to be getting a good picture of themselves right now. All right. I think they can broadcast that stuff out. I was just going to say, I think they can broadcast that stuff out in black and white live. For the color, it has to come over here, be converted, and transmitted back.
In the transcript, the word broadcast was censored. Note also how, as Duke says, they're probably seeing it in black and white, the camera cuts from one angle to another.
I think they can broadcast that stuff out in black and white live. For the color, it has to come over here, be converted, and transmitted back in a color for the people over in that area, but probably seeing it in black and white.
It's another example of live audio synced with edited video. So let's see. Presuming that Spacecraft Films are being truthful in their complete footage selling point, and that this footage was broadcast live as Duke said, are we to believe that the networks were receiving this telecast in its edited state?
The people over in that area, but probably seeing it in black and white.
Out of the entire 47 GET telecast, less than 8 minutes were included on the Spacecraft Films DVD. As just demonstrated, at least 5 minutes of it was censored. The next telecast featured on the Spacecraft Films disc is logged as being filmed at 49 hours and 54 minutes into the flight. It runs for about 2.5 minutes and looks continuously at the Earth. However, the title card given says it's the 6th telecast from Apollo 10, not the 5th. Presumably, there was another telecast between the respective videos filmed at the 47-hour mark and the 49-hour mark. So why is it not included on the Spacecraft Films DVD? Telecast number 7 is dated as being shot 53 hours, 35 minutes and 30 seconds ground elapsed time.
Here's the hello from the 5 of us on Apollo 10. Here's Tom Stafford, John Young, and yours truly, Gene Cernan. Okay, that's the 3 of us, and here's the other 2 on Apollo 10. Your friendly Charlie Brown, and our ever-loving companion Snoopy.
Of course, before we get to see what the 5 Apollo 10 crew members are looking at, the camera conveniently blacks out.
Okay, now you know that there's 5 of us up here. We'd like to take you outside and show you what the 5 of us are looking at. Roger. Okay.
And again, when it's time to go back inside the capsule.
Okay, we'll take you back inside here now. I'll take care of it. Question for today, who is that?
It looks like John Young with 4 sets of eyes there. Or 2 sets of eyes.
There you go.
Let's call it 4 eyes. Looks like a World War I aviator.
And again, when we go back outside.
Okay, this is Apollo 10. We'll take you outside for one last look at the Earth and sign off.
Roger, thank you very much.
The final telecast filmed on the way to the moon is dated 72:20 mission time. Just over 4.5 minutes after a continuous shot of Earth, Thomas Stafford announces they'll be taking the camera back inside.
We'll give you a quick shot on the interior now, and then we'll terminate this pass. We'll go inside now.
Of course, not before the lights go out.
Very good. Thank you much for the view. We'll be standing by for the inside.
You can also notice how Gene Cernan deliberately covered the camera lens with the Apollo 10 insignia card.
For the view, we'll be standing by for the inside. Hello, Apollo 10, Houston, you're coming in on the black and white monitor now.
During this interior scene, Charlie Duke comments, "The patch is visible, but it's pretty dark, due to the background being so bright." Just as Duke says the last word in his sentence, the camera cuts.
Side one, I guess it is. The patch is visible, but it's pretty dark due to the background being so bright.
The next quote we hear is Duke's, "10, do you read, over?"
10, do you read, over?
The transcript logs these respective quotes 1 minute and 10 seconds apart. The exact time elapse on the Spacecraft Films disc. Later, we can see the mission's command pilot, Thomas Stafford. When commenting on the beard he has grown over the mission, Stafford says, "That's known as a 72-hour shadow, Charlie." Duke replies, "Yes, sir."
That's known as a 72-hour shadow, Charlie.
Yes, sir.
These two quotes were made only 5 seconds apart, but in the video feed there is clearly a cut between them.
That's known as a 72-hour shadow, Charlie.
Yes, sir.
That's known as a 72-hour shadow, Charlie.
Yes, sir.
Hour shadow, Charlie.
Yes, sir.
It's also interesting to note that in this particular telecast, we get a prominent view of the hatch window. Both Cernan and Stafford comment on the particles that have congealed on the outer pane. Watch now as Cernan describes what he's looking at.
Roger.
Houston, the hatch window is phenomenally clear. There's what appear to be a few dust particles on the outside, maybe a couple smear prints on the inside. The right-hand window has got a little bit of a smear on the outside, not necessarily particles, but just a general smear. And the left side window has got some definite particles lashed across it. Bit of a smear on the
Do you
outside,
think
not
his lips
necessarily
look synced to his
particles, but
voice?
just a general smear. And the left side window has got some definite particles lashed across it.
In this telecast alone, we have seen not one, but 3 examples of uncut audio synchronized to edited video footage. It's also interesting to note that in response to the blue light we later saw filling the hatch window on Apollo 11, some folks have suggested that it was sunlight being refracted through the multi-paned window, even though the sun was filling up window number 5 at the time.
Yeah, those are both the 2 star charts that he is using right now as sunshades over the right-hand window, window number 5. Roger, we see the sun shining in through it behind him, and the ceiling and the
A similar situation is seen on this previous mission when we see the hatch window. Though not completely filling it, we can distinctly see a blue light shining through it.
I don't think any of it is due to the thruster burn.
You might argue that this is just a refraction of the sun's light. However, in this transmission, the astronauts make it clear that none of their windows have a view of the sun or the moon some 9,000 miles away.
At this time, as we look at the Earth, we are 210,000 miles away. We've only got about 9,000 miles to go to the moon. We're traveling approximately 2,500 miles an hour relative to the Earth, around the moon. Right now, we cannot see the moon, even though it is rapidly accelerating towards it by its mass. Over.
Roger, Tom. We copied. That's a very good description. We copy. We have you entering the lunar penumbra at this time. Do you notice the sun setting at all? Over.
We can't see the sun right now, Charlie.
Roger.
We're not in the right attitude to see it.
In this attitude, to look at the Earth and everything, we can't get a picture of the sun that we can see. If there's any solar corona, we'll give it a quick shot.
Roger. Jack is estimating you'll have about 30 seconds only. Over.
Okay, Charlie, it appears that the sun's reflection on Snoopy here is getting a little bit dimmer. So we very well could be where you say we are. I hope we are.